Hello, welcome to this episode of the Martial Truth Podcast, Attack. So, I recently returned from doing a series of seminars in New York at my old school, Seishinkan East. Appreciate that and had a great time. Had a sensei come down from Wappingers Falls, New York, 77 years old, Mr. Feynman. He came down and he took part in the seminar, and he suggested, one of the things that he found surprising in my approach was that I didn't sit back, that I didn't take a kamae and respond to the attack, that if the attack was coming on me, I attacked the opponent. And that sometimes I advocated attacking the opponent first. So he thought, being he'd been in Isshinryu karate and other martial arts for all these years, he's 77, he said most people advocate that taking a guard first before you defend. And he said, you never do that. And he's correct, I don't. In some of the early works on Okinawan karate by like Minobu Sensei, he specifically says that karate is offensive in nature. It is not defensive. But what's happened to karate is we've been hijacked by this idea that there is no first strike in karate. I mean, we hear this all the time. There's no first strike in karate. Oh, you should never attack first. You have to defend. Karate is only used for defense. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Do we really think that what's meant from that saying is that you never strike first in karate? Is that what we really think it means? That it's literally telling you you can never strike first in karate because karate is only used for defense. We only defend, we never attack. It's preposterous. I mean, let's take a step back here. It's giving you an ideal. An ideal is something we're striving for. We all try to reach that ideal. So the ideal is basically there's no first strike in karate. Don't be a troublemaker. Don't go out there looking for trouble. However, if I'm walking down the street and three guys spring out from an alley and they're immediately advancing on me with obvious intent to do me harm, I have to get into my on guard position first and wait for one of them to launch their attack. No. Okay? That kind of thinking is going to get you killed. At the minimum, seriously injured. No. What I do is I immediately go after them. I think it's pretty obvious, your reptile brain will be screaming at you that danger, danger, right? Okay. So, the guy, you turn the corner in the subway and the guy standing there with a knife and you didn't realize he was that close and he's advancing on you. Oh yeah, I'm going to wait till he goes to stab me. I'm not allowed to do something first. Ridiculous. I teach and practice Isshinryu karate, so Sui Shitsuru Jiu-Jitsu, Shihei Kwan Kung Fu, which is feeding crane. I do a little bit of Kingairu, which is from Matayoshi Kobudo, empty hand art. I do several extra kata, all right, from Okinawan karate. Obviously, Chen style Tai Chi Chuan practical method. The Chen style, one of its primary principles is there's no retreat. And at contact with the enemy, we destroy him. So there's no give and take, there's no back and forth, and there's no backing up. All right? This idea of karate's defensive in nature, and we have to kind of take a step back first before we can defend ourselves. I don't know how this became into karate, and part of it's the Okinawan master's fault. I remember in National Geographic in 1997, when they were opening the Okinawan Budokan, grand opening, I remember Nagamine Sensei was asked about, well, what's the difference between Okinawan karate and Japanese karate? And his response was something to the effect of Pearl Harbor. Okay. So, again, if you want to make things as simple as possible and you want to have this idea that the Okinawans are these gentle, peace-loving people, that's great. But the real historians know that wasn't the case. The Okinawans had several kingdoms. They were at war with each other for millennia, constantly killing each other. They had a warrior class, just like the samurai in Japan. They had a warrior class in Okinawa, and they became quite good at killing each other. The first time the Japanese came and invaded the island, the Okinawans, the peaceful Okinawans, were able to repulse and send the Japanese back to Kyushu. Eventually they came back with a lot more guys and conquered the island, but the first time they didn't. So you think it was just a bunch of peaceniks sitting there going, oh, please don't invade us? No, there were warriors waiting for them, and those warriors fought them off and sent them back to Japan with their tail between their legs. All right. How'd this happen then? Where karate's become this thing where karate is all about peace and love and kindness. Yeah, of course it's about that. It's also about if you're walking to your car in the parking lot with your loved ones and 3 individuals accost you and try to harm you, you should be able to take them apart. And you're not going to take them apart if you're worried about, well, I can't strike until he strikes me or he attacks me. All right? Or if after as they're attacking, you're always backing up. Like I see a million people doing in Okinawan karate. I see the masters in Okinawa doing it all the time. Someone posted a video the other day, and they said these techniques are an example created by this master of a prearranged fighting drill set, and there's an element of Motobu Choki's techniques and Kion Chotoku's techniques, and then I look at the techniques, and the defender is backing up on every defensive move. So the attacker's moving forward, and the defender's backing up. Okay, well, I practiced the Motobu drills. I just got a copy of McCarthy Sensei's book and looked at the Kion techniques. There's no backing up in the Motobu drills. You can go online. I don't have to share it here, but you can go online, just put in Motobu drills, and you will see them come up, done by Choki Motobu's son or grandson. I'm not sure who it is. I think it's the son. And what is he doing? He's advancing and moving into his attacker. And this is what I advocate if you're doing martial arts for real self-defense. If most of the techniques you're doing, you're backing up, you're not doing real self-defense. You're not. You can think you are, but you're not. You have to advance. You have to move in. You have to meet the enemy and attack him. Okay? In the beginning, when I'm teaching beginners and we start doing some serious work, where now I'm throwing punches at them hard and fast, what do most of my beginners do? Which direction do they move? They move back. Okay? They move back. And what am I telling them constantly? No, you have to move in. You have to move in. The next stage is they start to move to the side. Okay? Which that's fine. That's a good stage. Moving to the side, at least you're moving in, but you're moving to the side. Eventually, you have to be able to move straight in. So the enemy can track you with his eyes when you move to either side. And there's nothing wrong. I mean, I move to the side when I'm doing, so you want to be able to do that. But the enemy can track you. So that means he can follow you. His eyes can turn and look at you, right? Can track. When you come straight down his center line, the enemy's eyes do this without realizing it. So they almost cross. The brain is confused. It's not clear on what's going on. So it's easier for you to eliminate the threat that way. So moving straight in is extremely important. I learned this from hundreds of life and death situations I've been in. Okay? My students who've been in it. All right? And I'll give you a quick story. One of my students was down in the Dominican Republic on vacation. He's sitting at an outdoor cafe. All of a sudden he turns. There's a guy with a big stick, a pipe, whatever it was, and he's acting like a crazy person. And as he turns, the guy sees my student, and he rears back to swing the stick or club at him. And my student said he heard my voice in his head saying, "Move in, move in, move in." And he immediately moved in and managed to grab the stick before it got momentum coming forward. And he snatched the stick right out of the attacker's hand. And he stood there and looked at the attacker. And what'd the attacker do? He beat feet. He ran. Okay? But he told me afterwards, he said, Sensei, I swear, I heard your voice in my head saying, move in, move in. So I'm not telling you this as a theory. I'm telling you this as this works, okay? In the Sosui Shitsuru Jiu-Jitsu kata, most of what we're doing is moving in on the attacker. We're not moving back. You add up the amount of times you step forward in your Okinawan karate kata as opposed to how many times you step back, the number is staggering. You step in, forget about it. Forget about the number of times, okay? Feeding crane, forward. Chen style Taiji, okay? That's a very long form. We virtually never step back in the form. And when we do, it's because we have a hold of the enemy and we're doing something to him, okay? So these masters that took fighting techniques and then put it into forms, kata, right? They did the fighting techniques first. And then they were like, well, how can I preserve these techniques? So initially it was two-man kata, like Sosui Shitsuru. The Jiu-Jitsu kata, two-man kata. Most of the Japanese koru, two-man kata. So they're still working against its partner against partner. But karate is a more modern art. And originally it was fighting techniques. And then they created the kata, all right? And what happened is the idea of karate changed and it became, well, and even as early as the 1930s, they were already talking about it as a sport. And that was its downfall. Karate is not a sport. It never has been. And that'll be the topic of my next podcast, the difference between self-defense and sport. So in combat, if you're attacked and you begin moving backwards, you have a problem. The opponent is going to keep advancing. And eventually you're going to trip and fall, or you're going to get caught against a wall or a car or something, and now the opponent's on you. You have to train that out of your body. Your natural instinct is, I want to get away, I want to get away. You have to train, as the attack's coming, I move in to meet it. What it should be is, as that punch is coming at you, you want to move in and intercept it. As you're intercepting it, you want the enemy to think he's still hitting you, you've already hit him. Now, if you hit him right, and you hit him in a vital point, throat, eyes, solar plexus, groin, ribs, depending on how hard you can hit, depending on what clothing he's wearing, now that strike when you hit him is going to take the power out of his punch. Because his brain goes from, I got him, I got him, I got him, to ouch, what's that? Now you've moved in, now you've flipped the script. Now you move in and you eliminate the threat. And eliminating the threat means the opponent is no longer capable of hurting you. What does that mean? Okay. It means what it means. You know, if you do something, you knock him down, and now he jumps right back up, and now you have to do it all over again, you've made a big mistake. A big mistake. You move in, he's attacked. He already tried to harm you. Okay? You move in, you eliminate the threat. That means he's incapacitated to the point where he can no longer harm you or attempt to harm you. That's what that means. And again, you need to realize, we're not talking about a bar fight. Maybe a bar fight. Maybe you're out at a bar and some guy, for whatever reason, decides he's got a problem with you and now he attacks you, and you know, you don't know what his intention is. It's just going to be some little bit of fisticuffs and we're going to go our separate ways. I mean, again, at my age, if you attack me, I'm assuming you're trying to seriously harm me, and I'm going to stop you from doing that, and it's not going to be enjoyable for you. I'm going to put you down. I'm going to put you down hard. I'm not going to back up. I'm only going to move in. I'm going to go through you. That's what I'm going to attempt to do. And I can tell you from years of having people trying to harm me, what I discovered was, as the person's attacking me, they expect me to back up. They expect me to assume a defensive position. Oh, right? Okay. When I move in and immediately attack them as they're attacking me, their response, their punch does that. Their body does that because their body's so used to having that person back up. Now when you move in, it's almost like you physically hit them. Their reptile brain is screaming, oh, what's this? What's this? What's he doing? Right? Then you move in, you eliminate the threat. Okay? Again, if you know someone plans on trying to do you harm, why are you waiting? There's no waiting. Someone breaks in your house, why are you waiting? Okay? You don't assume a defensive posture and wait for them to attack. You take them out, you eliminate them. Okay? The problem is in most of the training I'm seeing, especially coming out of Okinawa, it's back up, back up, back up. And I love the ones where you back up and then block, and then you step forward and the other guy backs up and blocks, then he steps forward and then you back up and block. Like, again, what are we doing? Oh, well, we're working on space and timing and everything. Well, what you're doing is you're working on bad habits. You're ingraining bad habits. If you're an Okinawan master that's never had a fight, you're working off of theory. Now, if you train with an Okinawan master who had fighting ability, real fighting ability, someone like Motobu, Kian, okay? They're giving you their fighting experience. So they're telling you, listen, I've fought guys. When he came at me like this, I did this, and this worked really well. When someone does this, you have to do this. If you do this. And when everything with Motobu and Kian is moving in. They're moving in, right? They're meeting the attack, right? What does the word kumite mean? It means for the hands to meet, to move in and meet, right? So you're meeting, you're moving in, you're closing the distance. So the opponent's coming at you from here. He's coming this way. So as he's coming this way, you don't want to be doing this. As he's coming this way, you want to be doing this. You want to intercept his attack and eliminate the threat. It's as simple as that. The problem is, this is very hard. It's hard for multiple reasons. One, your mentality's not there. Your mentality is to back off, to get away from the threat. You have to train yourself to go towards the threat. Okay? As a police officer, one of my friends said to me one night, they used to include me in his son's prayers, which I was very happy for. Anybody that's praying for me, I'll take it. I'll take all the help I can get. And, luckily, thank God, all the dangerous things I've been involved in, all the time people have tried to kill me, I'm still here. I'm sitting here talking to you. When you enter the police academy, to give you an idea how serious it is, the first day you're in, you're filling out paperwork, you're sitting there in your suit, and one of the instructors gets up on the stage and he makes everybody stand up. And he says, I want everybody to look around and make eye contact with a whole bunch of people around. Turn around, look at everybody. And you do it, and then he says, know that someone in this room will die in the line of duty over the next 20 years. It's sobering. And what happens? A whole bunch of people get up and resign on the spot. They get up, they walk to the back, and they're like, this isn't for me. Because now the reality has hit them. Wait, you mean I can die doing this? 100% you can die. Okay? I mean, I've known people that have died, right? Every cop does, right? So the thing is if you learn how to deal with the violent attacks that criminals do. And remember, criminals are good at violence. It's not that their techniques are great, but they're used to violence. So they don't have any barriers to doing it. They don't have that morality that we all have, which is, we don't want trouble. It should be like that. That's what there's no first strike in karate means. It means we should not be out there starting trouble. We should be examples, have high moral ideals, set the example for others. However, that example also means that if you're attacked by someone, and that someone tries to seriously harm you, and you're training in karate for 10 years, and the first time you're called upon to use your karate skills for real, you get seriously injured or killed, okay, what were you doing for 10 years? How were you training for 10 years? Advance on the enemy. Any general knows once his troops are in a retreat, it's very hard to regroup them and have them stand and face the charging enemy. You need to realize it's the same thing in your martial arts. You advance, you move in, you attack your enemy. So your defense is attack, right? So the blocks aren't really blocks. They're slip punches, right? You deflect his arm, hit him, right? Even if you don't hit him that hard with that first strike, his brain, when he gets hit, his brain has to ask, what's that? What just happened to me? Now you've already hit him with 3 more strikes. Now you've already thrown him to the ground. Now you're finishing him. Now he's laying there. He's a quivering mess. He can't do anything to harm you. The threat has been eliminated. One of my first fights, I was 17 years old, 16 years old, probably 16, teenager. Still not a real fight, just 2 teenagers, a little bit of fisticuffs, And I was trained in the first dojo I trained in to step back all the time. So in the dojo, the person would throw a punch, it'd step back, block, and counter. Okay, so now I'm in this fight at 16. The guy throws a punch, and I step back and I block. Immediately threw the other hand. So now I went from blocking here, now I step back, and now I'm blocking on the other side. And he's just raining punches at me. And I'm backing up. And luckily for me, he tripped and fell. And when he tripped and fell, that's when I move in and I hit him and I took him out, and he wasn't too interested in fighting after that. But, I look at that now and I realize, well, that could have easily gone the other way. He tripped and fell. I'm stepping backwards. It was probably more likely that what? I was going to trip and fall and land on my back. And another fight I had as a teenager, that actually happened. I stepped back again, and I didn't know there was a curb there. And where'd I wind up? I wound up on my back. Now, luckily, I was able to get out of it and win the fight, but it could have easily gone the other way. So even early on, I began to realize this stepping back, this ain't working. It's not good. Now, think about it. If you're a woman that's 130 pounds, and you've got a 230-pound male, and he's coming in with all his weight and all his muscle to punch you in the face, do you think you're going to be able to step back and actually block that with your one arm, your one karate block? You think you're going to be able to do that? I can tell you now you're not. Because I've told karate people, I've said, all right, you're going to step back? I said, okay, I'm going to throw a punch at your face, but I'm going to throw it with intent. I'm going to try to punch you in the face. Good luck with that block. And then all of a sudden they kind of look and they're not so interested, right? So the basic kata that you see most styles doing were made for school children. They're not designed for self-defense. Yeah, I know people are creating bunkai for themselves. That was never their intent, okay? Those were not created out of fighting. Those were created from the other kata to make it easy for school kids to learn. Luckily in Isshinryu, we don't practice them. I know there's one teacher on Isshinryu who's added them. Shame on him. He's on Okinawa. He's an Okinawan master. He should know better, adding those kata to the system, okay? Shame on him. The founder was dead set against it. Those kata are for school children. That's not what we want our martial art to be. We know the founder of Isshinryu was in actual combat. We know that for a fact, okay? We have incidents that we were aware of, okay? But even by the time he was starting his style, I think the watering down of Okinawan karate was already happening. I think people like Motobu and Kion were realizing this. And then I think World War II, where a lot of the masters died, I think watered it down further. All right. So try to work your martial arts where you're moving in and attacking the enemy. Don't take a defensive posture. All right. Hope you've enjoyed this one. I have. I appreciate Mr. Feynman suggesting it. Thank you. Come up with other ones. I told you guys, anybody that has an idea, run it by me. A few other people have come up with some other ones. The one I'm doing next week on sport versus self-defense, that was suggested by another member. So please, send me your suggestions, all right? And again, please hit that like button, share the videos. Please subscribe, tell your friends about it, get them to subscribe, and consider becoming a member, all right? We're over 100 members. I appreciate it. It's going great. And we've got some stuff coming up in the next year that I think you guys will appreciate, all right? Thanks again. See you next time.